Hey gamers, it's Nightwing here, the Wii Live Game Reviewer, finally bringing you the review of The Legend of Zelda. Story of this game. Our tale begins in the magical world of Hyrule. Link has just rescued this old woman attacked by vile monsters south of Hyrule. She tells Link of a kingdom enslaved, a princess kidnapped, and a magical Triforce stolen, and an evil king named Ganon destroying the land. It's up to Link to venture into Hyrule, collect all these treasures, confront monsters, rescue the princess and the Triforce, and defeat Ganon. Alright, concept for this game. Players take on the role of Link, a hero who actually has to collect his own weapons and items in order for him to be successful, which is a great concept. Hyrule itself is a vast kingdom of open-ended goodness, meaning you can go anywhere, do pretty much anything. You have tons of valleys, grand forests, caves, mountains, deserts, oceans, lakes, graveyards, tons and tons of different things for you to explore. This is a very, very big game. Along the way, you're going to bump into actually the citizens of Hyrule, who will either offer you advice or they will sell you items that will help you progress through the game. Another part of this game that's very, very huge is the dungeons themselves, where Link goes in to venture not only just to find the 8 Triforce shards, but he actually goes into these dungeons to collect the different types of treasures that are hidden inside of it. Each treasure or item will act as your way to progress through the game. Each item is unique, and each is very, very important in their different dungeons in order for you to be successful. And of course, once you defeat the actual boss of this dungeon, you can get the Triforce and slowly begin to rebuild what the Triforce of Wisdom is. So Link goes through, he collects the Triforce. Your goal is to defeat Ganon and save the princess. Alright, controls for this game. Alright, you're going to use the command cross in order to move Link left or right, up or down. And you can move him in kind of like a box pattern and stuff like that. Your B button is your secondary weapon, which for this review I used the boomerang and the bombs. The A button is of course your sword, but when your hearts are fully charged, you can shoot a beam attack called the Beam Blade. And the Beam Blade is really cool because it can distance you from enemies and it's still very powerful. Again, the B button is going to be used a lot in this game, either for blowing up walls using a bomb, or using your whistle, or even confronting bosses with bombs and arrows. The B button is crucial, even as far as going to light a candle to your darkest path. But the beam attack with the A button has to be my absolute favorite weapon. It's very strong, it distances you from enemies, and it's a lot of fun to just blast them. Alright, designed for this game. Hyrule itself is a very well designed land, with seas and oceans and deserts and valleys and forests, yada yada yada. But I want to kind of look past the level design and all the open-ended goodness to talk about something a little bit different than most of the reviewers have. I want to talk about the dungeons, but more specifically, I want to talk about the monsters in those dungeons. Now, if many of you who've played this game have noticed that the monsters control and move pretty much all the same as the Stalfos at the beginning of the first dungeon. But what makes this game so amazing to me is the fact, even though these monsters control the same, they're all radically designed different, which is just amazing for an 8-bit game. So when you're going in to all these different dungeons and seeing these different designed monsters, it really makes you feel like, hey, this is a new dungeon that I haven't really explored, and this is a new kind of monster that I have to learn how to fight in order to achieve my goal. And that was just a great, great feeling. And I have to say, for an 8-bit game, this is a crowning achievement in my book. And the boss battles were very well designed for an 8-bit game. Alright, history for this game. The Legend of Zelda was created by Shigeru Miyamoto from his adventures from his childhood exploring his home in Kyoto. Zelda is considered a spiritual forerunner of the console RPG games. Though its gameplay elements are different from those of typical RPGs, its bright graphics, fantasy setting, and musical style have been adopted and used in many RPGs and Zelda sequels since. One such sequel is Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, a side-scrolling adventure action game with town elements, magic, and much, much more. The game also spawned a less than successful cartoon series in 1989, which I do have on DVD, by the way. A Link to the Past was Link's next adventure, and it took place on the Super Nintendo in 1991. Ganon was back yet again to cause problems for Link, Hyrule, and of course Zelda. This time Link had to venture between two worlds, light and dark, in order to confront his nemesis. This game introduced the Ocarina, and of course the Master Sword. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening was Link's next adventure, and it took place in 1993 on the Game Boy. This was the first time that Link took place outside of Hyrule, in kind of this mythical island, where Link's objective is to awaken this deity called the Windfish. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was Link's venture into the 3D realm, and it changed video games forever. Ocarina of Time is the game gamers had wanted since Zelda released in 1986, and it brought Link back to his former glory, introducing, of course, the Ocarina as a time-traveling beacon, and of course his horse, Epona. Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask is the sequel to Ocarina of Time, although it's received both high and low criticism from fans alike, because it's not exactly what fans were expecting after the stellar Ocarina of Time. The next games were Oracle of Seasons and Ages, which took place at the same time and released at the same time for the Game Boy Color. Wind Waker was Link's next console adventure and is the most expressive Link ever, using top-notch cel-shading technology. And who can forget this scene, people? The next game was, of course, Four Swords Adventure, which was the spin-off series to the Four Swords Game Boy game. Minish Cap was next for the Game Boy Advance, where Link grew small and tall, and also the Four Swords was included in it. The next game was Twilight Princess, which brought Link back the way he is supposed to be, Nintendo. Final game was Phantom Hourglass. Bad part about this game. Well, what would I have wrong with this stellar game? For one, the Blue Knights. Although, they're not called Blue Knights, no. They're called Blue Dark Nuts. I mean, isn't that wrong? Aside from the crappy name, these enemies are very, very difficult. In fact, you will die a lot of times, especially when you're fighting them in level 8 and you have like these fire things shooting at you. So you're trying to avoid those and the Dark Nuts at the same time. It just doesn't work. Another thing I hated about this game were the Wiz robes, both blue and orange. They suck, and I hate them. I wonder what Link would have to say about this whole thing.
Well, excuse me.
I guess that answers that question. Alright, memories for this game. Well, as many of you know, Legend of Zelda was the first video game I ever played. Now, I don't remember how old I was in 1987, so I'm not good with math, but one thing I loved about this game is that you could go anywhere and do anything. So as a child, I always explored Dungeon 2 first. I don't know why, and I always ended up dying because I had the crummy wooden sword. But that's what I did, and I have grand memories of this game. Good aspect about this game. Legend of Zelda is such an amazing gaming milestone, and it's crucial to our gaming history. Play it again. There is so much to do, enjoy, and explore. There is tons of great stuff, including hidden secrets and reasons for you to go revisit different parts of Hyrule, such as dungeons and the actual world itself. After you have finally defeated the King of Evil, Ganon, Nintendo is like, okay, you're not quite done yet. They treat you to a second quest, which has completely changed the world of Hyrule and made it even harder. You can also enter your name as Zelda to go to the second quest as well. This game is the best game of all time. It gets a 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and peace out.